Vietnam War certainly is a major part of recent American history. It is probably not well understood exactly why we got involved, why the American people turned against it, why in the end the country fell to the North Vietnamese. It's extremely complex, and I'm not sure that for the average American citizen that they need to understand that. But I think what they need to understand is in every conflict that America is involved in, the men of that period, a certain group of them, commit themselves to go represent the country in combat and to do this in the name of freedom. And we did that in Vietnam with as much intensity as Americans have ever since the American Revolution. So I think anybody that's interested in American history doesn't want to have one period blocked out because of controversy. Okay? Now, a lot of people feel that the war was wrong. Some people feel that the war was right. I really don't want to get involved in that. Okay? At the time, basically I was a teenager and was either join or get drafted. I elected to join. I knew I was going to Vietnam. That's the reason I joined the Marine Corps to begin with. Okay, I just knew that's where I was going. So I thought, I'm going to get the best training possible. So I joined the Marine Corps. Off to Vietnam I went. I did spend a year in combat. I did survive. Here I am. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, I did what I set out to do. Okay, Corporal Perkins probably had very similar plans as I did. The only difference was I was a tank crewman. He was a photographer. Okay, we're both Marines. We're both basically riflemen. We're both going to a combat area. Obviously, we're going to be involved in people trying to kill us. So he knew that. I knew that. He did his job to the best of his ability. In the end, he made the ultimate sacrifice. Okay, so all I'm saying is, it's part of American history. You know, he needs to be recognized for what he did. Okay, his determination, you know, to at the time, you know, participate, do it as a Marine, do it to the best of his ability, you know, and then unfortunately make this sacrifice. Okay, so to me, I think about it and I go, I just don't know, given what's at the Eastman House, you know, especially every time I keep on thinking back to that picture of the Marines raising the flag at Mount Suribachi and the camera, and I'm thinking that is totally awesome that it's there, but I'm thinking, why do I look around and I don't see nothing about Corporal Perkins whatsoever? We have a local Marine that was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, the only one in the correspondence business that's ever been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, and yet there's nothing said about him at the George Eastman House. You know, it just seems like it's a natural to be, you know, somewhere co-located with that exhibit. I don't even know how to begin to explain what he did. Okay, in combat, as Marines, you know, we're trained to react and behave and to make that commitment to the team to have an end result of success. Okay, and it's pretty much at all cost. What he did was, without giving it any thought at all, because grenades have usually about maybe a 4 or 5 second timing on them. Okay, so when you pull the pin and you throw it, once that pin is out, the time begins, that 4 or 5 seconds, because at that point the combat is so close that you're probably only 10 or 12 feet away from whoever you're fighting with. So you throw it, and within 4 or 5 seconds it's going to explode. So by the time it gets to him and it falls and he decides to do something, it is exploding. That's it. So his thought was instantaneous: do this, protect my fellow Marines. He's not the only one that's ever done that. It normally results in a award of the Congressional Medal of Honor because it's such a heroic act to save your fellow Marines by giving your own life, and you know you're doing it when that happens. But I don't know how to put that into better terms or to explain it. I just don't. You did exactly what you're supposed to do. Exactly. I have to, personally think that I would like to convince myself that given the same situation, I would have made the same decision. I can't say that, okay? But he did. But then all of a sudden, in an instant, he becomes this standout. It's just bigger than life. Because at that point, he's more concerned about the lives of his fellow Marines than he is his own life, and he gives it for them. I mean, at that, I can't think, yeah, I'm like everybody else. I watch the Super Bowl. I like to watch the playoffs. Hopefully the Yankees will get in it this year. I like all that stuff. There's no comparison. None. These are all great games, great athletes. I really enjoy it. I know everybody's out there. They've worked for years, and this is really hard, and they're doing everything, but they're not ready to give their life for it. That's the difference. And when he made that decision, I just can't comprehend how he must have felt. I don't know what he was thinking, other than that could injure my fellow Marines and I have to take care of it. That's it, And so it's sometimes I wonder if the Congressional Medal of Honor is enough. Okay, I know it's all the nation has to give his family. And I'm sure that their loss is huge, and I'm sure they're also proud of what he did. He is the last person I would use the term selfish on. I think he is one of those people that he probably didn't even realize it himself, but internally he had it in him to make a split-second decision to not be concerned about himself, but to be concerned about others. I think it's a very rare quality. I really do. But that's what he did. And I think that's what I find to be most impressive, about his story. I think for his family, what I would like them to know is that certainly he's not forgotten. Because sometimes I hear that from families. They go, well, I don't think anybody, they don't, after the initial loss and everything, maybe, people just don't care. It's not true, okay? People do care. And I think I'm not the only one that would like to see recognition take place for Corporal Perkins. I've talked to a lot of people about it. Everybody seems to be in agreement. I've not run into one person that could give me a reason why not to have him recognized at the George Eastman House. Not one person. The George Eastman House is one of the best quality museums that I've seen in America, and we do travel quite a bit. And I've been to quite a few museums, and I really enjoy going. And I've read the biography of George Eastman, so it's not like I just passed by the Eastman House and I like it at Christmas time. I've done a lot of research on George Eastman, so I know about him and about the house, and I've really enjoyed that house. And there's probably only a couple other places that I can think, museums such as the National Museum of the Marine Corps, and some of the Smithsonian's that I look at and I go, these are extremely high quality places of learning for Americans of all ages. And I think when you consider that, and then you consider the sacrifice that Corporal Perkins made and the resulting recognition from our government of awarding him the Congressional Medal of Honor, I just don't understand why the George Eastman House would not embrace the opportunity to recognize Corporal Perkins. I just don't understand, okay, given all those facts. So I guess that's what I would tell them. Tell me why, you don't do this, okay? I just don't understand. What I'm hoping is, I'm just hoping that the right person has not heard the story yet and is like myself, just didn't know a thing about it. And now it's a new revelation, and they're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And of course, it's all documented. It's not a story, it's not fiction. This is real. And I think once they do their due diligence and conduct research, and find out that yes, you can check at the National Museum of the Marine Corps, and yes, in fact, his camera's there, and probably the pictures that he took and the videos that he made. And you can also check with the American History Museum and find out that his mother has donated his Medal of Honor and his award from President Nixon and all the rest. When you start finding out all this information, yes, in fact, he's from Rochester, New York. Now I can't tell you anything. I don't know if his dad worked at Kodak, which I guess there's always that possibility given the era. It seemed like almost everybody did. But I mean, when you think about all this information that's available and it's documented, and I just think at the George Eastman House it would just make just a wonderful display about the history of Rochester and some of the contributors to that particular industry that house represents. He certainly is one of them. And if Corporal Perkins had not been a combat photographer, had he been an infantryman and did this same thing, then I certainly would not be asking the George Eastman House to consider it. Okay. The only reason I asked them to consider it is because he is the only combat photographer to ever receive the Congressional Medal of Honor. I think that in itself is like the qualifier that says all his story is pretty amazing, but it ties directly to that house. It really does. And I think that probably happened because his family moved from Rochester and went to California. I think had his family stayed in Rochester and all this took place, probably I wouldn't be talking to you today about it. There probably would be something at the George Eastman House. It would have been there a long time ago. I think it makes no difference whatsoever that they relocated. None. I think it's none. I think by that time his personality is set. Okay, he's teenage years. He's going to high school. The Vietnam War is going. He's probably facing the same thing I was, which is if you're not going to college, you're definitely going to get drafted in the Army, and you're going to Vietnam. That's all there is to it, because that's the way life was. And I'm sure he probably looked at it the same way I did. Okay, but I'm going to join the Marine Corps because that's what I want to be. I want to be a Marine. And then however he got into photography, if it happened to be in his genes or he brought his own camera with him, or I don't know how that happened, but however he got into that particular job, good for him, that's what he did. Okay? And it's no, I mean, there probably is, I cannot think of a combat photographer being in any less risk than the infantry that he's out there trying to document. Okay? Because the guys on your side don't see you as a cameraman, so therefore they don't shoot at you. Okay, they're shooting at everybody that moves. Okay, it's just as dangerous out there for him. So I think that here in the end he should be in the Eastman House because of he's a Rochesterian. Here's the time. This is what happened. This is what he did. And then it ties directly to photography. So I'm kind of like, that's kind of the clincher, I mean, his mother donating his Medal of Honor and all to the American History Museum is appropriate because they do have a gallery there for Medal of Honor. Okay, so that's she did the right thing, and then recognition, at our Vietnam Memorial, did the right thing, Now what I'm saying is, George Eastman's house, do the right thing. I would love the opportunity to go to the George Eastman House and to listen to what they plan to do. More, because I'm not the person to identify this is what it should be like. I'm the person who is more going to look at it and say, is that truly representative of who Corporal Perkins is and what he accomplished? And I have every confidence that the professionals at the George Eastman House will put together a display that will be fitting, it'll be educational, It'll be an inspiration to those that come to the museum. And I think it will enhance the value of the museum itself. I really do. So I'm sure it'll do all those things. I'm sure that they have people that will conduct the research, and they'll select exactly all the right things, and they'll put it together. And I'm sure I'll be impressed with what they've done at the Eastman House, and then I can just kind of move on and just say, yeah, they did it. You know, I'm thrilled.